is common, where where residents or private businesses take over the maintenance responsibilities, and so that if we do have residents who are interested, yes, we'd be very happy to talk to them and try to figure out how to make it happen.
Good. Okay.
And I would say Lindenwood Homeowners Association does actually, do some of that work in some parts of Lindenwood, including the junction of James and Catawba. There's a little island there, and also they maintain the gates and many of the gates there and the vegetation around the gates.
Well, I was wondering about irrigation. I said, I don't think there's irrigation really in those islands. Are there? Is there?
Well, we would have to check to see specifically what island you're talking about.
Yeah.
But chances are there isn't, but that's something we can check.
Okay. Well, I'll tell him to call you.
Mr. Mayor, before you move off the city manager's report, we also have our finance director here. This is his first meeting, Robert Barron, so I'd like to welcome him as well.
He's our permanent.
He's a veteran of at least one finance committee meeting.
Yes, hello. I'd like to say I'm glad to be here. It's been just got here recently. Great town, great staff to work with. Live in the area, live in Palo Alto, so I'm familiar with the area. I'm a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, so I apologize in advance for Stanford graduates or for fans of Stanford. But I'm glad to be here. I'm looking forward to coming on board and continuing to improve the community here in the town of Atherton. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. We'll move to the consent calendar. Consent calendar is items number 10 through 18. Any council member or any member of the public can ask for these to be removed, whereby they would then be discussed in detail and you could make public comments on them. So, do we have any items? Jerry?
I have comment on 13.
Okay. Okay. Elizabeth?
I have a comment on item 11 and on 14.
Okay.
16 and 17.
Okay. And since we're having a comment on 14, we'll just pull 14. I have some comments on it, although I got most of them answered this morning. Okay, so that would leave item number 10. Oh, any comments or any items that we'd like to have pulled from the audience? So it's number 10, which is the minutes. Number 11, which is the bills that the checks that we've written. 12 is our new investment policy. There's a slight amendment to it. 13 is the health care, which we're already going to have a comment on. Bike path RFP is 14. 15 is public park painting project. Close out that project. Complete streets is 16. An emergency ordinance has been processed by the city attorney's office is 17. And then expenditure of a COPS grant by the police department is number 18. Anybody want any of those pulled? Okay, seeing none. May I have a motion to approve item number... Do you want to make your comment? Well, we'll go through. Do you want to make your comment on the bills first, Elizabeth, before we...
On the bills?
You said you just had a comment on them.
So I noticed in going through the bills that there were 2 checks issued to Nova Partners, who's the project manager for the library project, and it totaled over $15,000. And it was my understanding that we had put everything on hold until after the election. So I just was going to ask what those bills were paid for.
if you want, I could try to answer that.
Yeah.
Those were actually, that was actually for work that was performed, I believe, in July and August. Well, I'd have to check the invoices, but the reason why the town was slow in paying them was because when they submitted the original bills, they didn't have the proper backup that we were asking for, specifically a detail of the work that they did. So they were supposed to basically present a status report with the monthly billings. And so it took them a while to get that into the town, and I did not approve their invoices until I had a chance to get it and review it and approve it. And that's why the bills were a little late.
So what work are they doing? I thought that it was project management, and is the project is not ongoing at this moment.
Correct, but again, this was work that was related to the RFP review and selection, because that all was going on. I can't remember the exact months, but that was prior to the council deciding to put this on the ballot and putting a hold on things.
So they're not doing any more work at this time?
No, they are not.
Bill, I think I can get rid of item 16 very quickly if you'd like.
I've got some questions on 16.
Why?
Okay, so can we have a motion then to approve items 10, 11, 12, 15, and 18 as the consent calendar items?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think a lot of people are here for the regular agenda, so I'm going to handle these ones that we pulled after we finish the regular agenda item, if you would. So we're going to move on then to number 19, which is the public hearing for the annexation of the land of Somez 70 Camino por Los Arroyos. The public hearing for objections and resolution for the annexation. Lisa, are you going to bring us through that?
Thank you. The item before you tonight is the final city council action in the annexation process to annex a little over 5,000 square foot parcel that is a portion of the property at 70 Camino por Los Arroyos in the town of Atherton. This portion of property is currently located in the county unincorporated, and the property owner has requested annexation into the town, as it is a landlocked parcel, and it's really contiguous with their main residence and their property in Atherton. The annexation request has been reviewed by the Planning Commission, previously reviewed by the City Council at your pre-annexation hearing, as well as the County Board of Supervisors acting as the LAFCO agency. The specific action before you this evening is removal of the property from the University Heights Drainage District and annexation into the Atherton Channel Drainage District. If the council adopts the resolution this evening, staff will final the annexation with the State Board of Equalization, as well as complete the lot line adjustment process to merge the two properties. I'd be happy to try to answer your questions. The applicant is also here this evening if you have any specific questions of them.
Any questions from council or comments? Okay, then we'll take public comments.
Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Brian Heffernan. I'm an attorney. I'm here with my clients tonight, the owners of the subject property, Murat and Zainab Sonmez. I want to quickly just say a big thank you to the planning department and the town for working with us for this, what has become a 3-year project. A huge thank you to Lisa in that process. This has been a complex solution to a relatively seemingly minor title problem that arose about 40 years ago. So thank you, and we're here to answer any questions or address any concerns you may have. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments or objections from the public? Okay, seeing none, then we come back to the council. Is there any motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the staff's recommendation that the City Council adopt the attached resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the Town of Atherton ordering the annexation of the lands of Sonmez to the Atherton Channel Drainage District and requesting the Board of Supervisors detachment from the University Heights Drainage Maintenance District."
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, go to the regular agenda now. Move to item number 20, which is potential adjustment to regular city council meeting schedule.
Mayor, we just wanted to give you the opportunity to consider moving the November meeting because it falls the day before the Thanksgiving holiday. And there are a number of families that may be in attendance for that particular meeting for the DARE Awards, so they may be out of town.
Good idea.
I certainly would, this would be very beneficial to me because I'm going out of town on Thanksgiving. At present time, my plan was to go out on Thanksgiving morning, and the airlines seem to be unable to cooperate with me as far as the airfares go, and they just go up like crazy on that particular morning. So it would certainly be helpful to me if we could move this either previous Wednesday or the next Wednesday.
I'm not available the previous Wednesday.
The next Wednesday's fine, I think.
That's in December.
No, it's the third.
It's the.
It's the 30th.
No,
It's the
it's the
15th.
28th.
28th is
the
Yeah.
fifth Wednesday.
Is it?
No, no, 1, 2, 4 Wednesday.
Planning
Oh, it's
Commission.
planning commission, we've already,
It is not planning commission that
Full
evening.
Wednesday.
I can interject. The planning commission merges their November and December meeting, and it'll be held on December 5th.
Oh, that's good.
so we're not gonna hear from the chairman of the planning
You will
commission
not.
about moving the meeting. He was quite unhappy last time. So it'd be the 28th. I'll have to check my travel schedule. Any other comments from the council? Jerry?
No comment, just, are we gonna take action tonight on it?
What I'd like to do is have that date and possibly dates earlier in the week if possible. You know, I plan to be here for that week, but I understand everybody else is wanting to move.
Mr. Mayor, if it's going to be as on the agenda, the regular meeting, you have to do that ahead of time. If you want to do a special meeting, you can do that for any.
Well, all I was gonna comment is perhaps we could check a couple dates with the meeting planner and then set it well in advance.
Do it that way for a special meeting.
But you're saying we have to do it now.
Well, it's on the agenda now.
Okay.
If you're going to do it, you have to do it move the regular meeting, which you could do. Otherwise, you can do nothing and just, oh yeah. If you want, you can do nothing and adjust it later with a special meeting. It could throw the timing off for the community that look at it and plan ahead, that's all. And since this will be the first meeting after the election, there might be actions that need to take place. Okay.
Anybody else have a potential conflict for the 28th?
No.
I can't commit at this point in time. If we want to set it for now, that's fine, but I can't commit.
If it's only one member, you could certainly set it, and if you need to change it, you could change it down the line, but obviously it's nice to give notice so we don't have to re-notice the meeting later on.
All right, well, we can set it for the 28th, but I'll get back with everybody within a week with my availability. All right?
Any public comments?
Any public comments with regards to the meeting? Nope.
Short.
Keep it short, yeah. Okay.
Should I go ahead and make a motion? then?
Sure,
We,
go ahead.
Reschedule the meeting, the regular meeting of the November council from the 21st to the 28th.
I'll second that.
No discussion on moving it to Monday or Tuesday of that week, though, right? No one's available for that week?
It needs to be on a Wednesday.
Doesn't need to be on Wednesday.
It should be.
You know, it would be better that we would have all council members there. Is anybody gonna be out of town Monday or Tuesday, the 19th and 20th? I know we already have a motion, I'm just asking for the discussion.
No, I'm not gonna be out there on the 19th and 20th. I might be out on the 20th, but I'm not gonna be out on the 19th.
Are you available, Jerry, on the 19th?
As far as I know now.
I know for sure I'm gonna be available on the 19th and the 20th.
Well, we have a motion, call for the question?
You gotta say all those in favor, because there's a motion, a second on the table.
Okay, you wanna have all those in favor of the 28th, fine.
Aye.
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 All against? No. Because I can't commit. Okay. And you didn't vote?
I'll abstain until we at least know what's going on.
If you don't say so, under our rules, it counts as a yes.
I said I'll abstain.
Okay, then I didn't hear the mayor call for no's, and I didn't hear abstention, so just so get it on the record. So it's 3-1-1.
Okay. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the town's response to a grand jury report by suggesting that the dispatch centers around San Mateo County get potentially get merged together. And the chief has drafted a response. Ed, you gonna take us briefly through that? Or Joe, sorry.
Just to give you a little background, I'm going to read right off of the staff report. The San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury issued a report entitled, "Does San Mateo County Need 13 Separate Police Dispatch Centers?" in August of 2012. And in that report, the grand jury makes 15 findings and 1 recommendation. And we were given till October 17th today to provide a response. Basically, in the response, there were some questions that were ambiguous. Probably the toughest thing about answering these questions is that Atherton is lumped into a group of other municipal agencies in San Mateo County that just aren't the same and don't have a lot of the same duties. So while there were some findings that the town did agree with, there were some findings that the town did not agree with, and we asked for further clarification. Really more specifics. For instance, in statement number 4 on page 2, 4-8, it says for the cities operating their own dispatch centers, the average cost per call is $30.04. And so the question is, we want to know, where did you come up with those numbers? Who did you ask to get those numbers? And we have yet to receive that clarifying information. And some of the things, just to give you an example, when I said that Atherton is different, because when you're talking about the consolidation of dispatch and whether or not that it's going to save money, there's really no argument there. I think what we're asking clarification for is what specifically are you saying these dispatchers are going to do, and who are you comparing us to? Because an Atherton dispatcher, just off the top of my head, they do things that, for instance, if you go to a large municipal agency, the dispatchers, the 911 dispatchers generally take 911 dispatch calls. They dispatch the police to go to the call. In Atherton, we do have one person. If it gets super busy, we'll call somebody up and we'll have a second person there. The reason is because the person that's up there not only answers the phone for the place we call the hub center in dispatch, whether it's an emergency call or not, whether the police are going to go out to that call or not, you have somebody that's in there fielding all those calls. In addition to that, they're also doing the 911 dispatching, so there may be somebody calling. At the same time, you may have an officer making a traffic stop, responding to an alarm going out to the school, or any other call for service. In addition to that, they work the front counter. If somebody comes up to the front counter, they got to put everything on hold, provided that they can. So these are all things that we want to have factored in. So if they do an analysis and see if it is feasible and see if it is realistic, we want to compare. We'll make sure that the town of Atherton will be getting all the same services, because right now we do things that no other dispatch center does. Monitor residential burglary alarms is another thing that they do that is not done by any of the other agencies. Go to the finding. So what we basically told them in a nutshell is, we appreciate your efforts, we understand the points that you're trying to make and the cost-saving measures that you're trying to take and that you're inquiring about, but we do need more information. And, that's it.
Questions from the council?
Yes? There's a statement from the grand jury, number 4, that says that the average cost per call is $30.04. And that for cities that contract out dispatch, the average cost is $18.45. And it says that some of the cost differential is due to the fact that dispatchers in many cities perform additional duties, which is what was stated here tonight, while cities that contract out are just paying for dispatch services. That's exactly what you've said. And you mentioned the burglar alarm and the front desk and answering the phone. And our response says that we disagree with this finding, but that's exactly what the grand jury has stated, that that cost differential is a consequence of the additional services that are performed by our dispatch. So I don't know quite why we disagree with the finding. But we then go on to respond by saying that the grand jury compared the cost of providing only police dispatching services against the cost of centers that provide police dispatching as only one facet of their many communication duties. When this is taken into account for the town of Atherton, the cost percentage difference is considerably less. But we don't say what that cost percentage is. We also believe there are inconsistencies in the grand jury's data collection and comparison methodology with respect to employee costs, operational costs, and call volume. But again, we don't say what we believe those inconsistencies are. And then we say in the final sentence, the town acknowledges that there may in fact be some cost savings, but believe that such savings are clearly overstated in the grand jury's report with respect to the town of Atherton. But we don't say how. Now, we make very good responses, I think, to numbers 2 and 3, where we clearly go into the numbers of how many police dispatch centers have been reduced over the last number of years, and how many police departments there are, and we nail them on, you know, all the numbers. And here we are talking about our own police dispatch and validating for them why we do something more for that additional $30.04 per call. But we don't supply them with any of the information to validate it. We make these general remarks. First, we disagree with their finding, and their finding exactly is what you said. But we don't give them any of the information. We just talk in generalities. Why don't we supply any of that data? Why don't we tell them the cost percentage difference, what it is considerably less, but why don't we tell them why? Why don't we tell them what are the inconsistencies that we see? And why don't we say how they overstate their information with regard to Atherton? Why do we just talk in these general terms?
Well, some of the items are the way I read it was that some of these items were addressed, you know, on page 5 in the recommendations, number 1. There they get into some additional information of what we do, talking about alarm monitoring and other clerical duties and receptionist duties. Because I had the same type of comment that said that maybe those things should have been added, but then I saw them, they were added back here. Because I know that the chief, over here, in the recommendations, section 1, right here. So, you know, the chief forwarded something around earlier, and when all of us, I think, had a chance to comment on it. One of my comments was we need to personalize it to Atherton, because it was also something that the Chiefs Association had taken a look at and did like a starter set on it. And I thought he'd done a good job with it. We could have sprinkled some of the stuff from the back part to the front part, and maybe we still should, but I thought that the information was there, but it maybe needed to be repeated.
Yeah,
in my mind.
But I also think it needs to be more specific. What is the cost percentage differential and all of that? As I say, they go into the numbers in 2 and 3, and I think it's very clear what we're talking about. And I think if we have that data, we should supply it to them, because it certainly supports our case. With regard to number 5, in the final paragraph, it says, the town finds it highly suspect that the grand jury failed to provide the names of interviewees and officials that provided them with anecdotal comments and information in the report. My belief is that if you look at how the civil grand jury works, they are not, by law, they are required to keep all of that information confidential. They can't tell you the names of the people who appeared before them, is my belief. All of that is secret. They did, however, supply the titles and the you know, how many sheriffs and the positions of the people that came before them. And I don't know that they're allowed to give you that information. With regard to, but that's something I think should be checked. With regard to the number 7, it says larger police dispatch centers have dedicated dispatch teams not distracted by tangential responsibilities and tend to provide better training programs for the intense dispatch job. Our response is that the grand jury's assumption that our dispatchers are distracted by other tangential responsibilities is merely speculation and not based on factual information or research. I mean, do we really feel that they're saying that? I think what they're saying is that when a dispatcher has to oversee a desk and respond to burglary calls and answer the phone, that there are other obligations that dispatcher says. I don't know that they're saying that our dispatchers are not doing their jobs as well, but are distracted by tangential responsibilities. I'm not sure I agree that as human beings, people aren't distracted when they have other obligations, just as we're distracted if we use a cell phone, or you know, or combing our hair, or doing other things when we're driving. And once again, on number 12, it says the grand jury should have provided the names of their sources of information. And again, I'm not sure that legally they're allowed to do that. And finally, on the recommendations, excuse me, number 2, it says the city council members take a leadership role on behalf of their constituents to drive consolidation of police dispatch across the county. And the response is, this recommendation will not be implemented for obvious reasons already stated above. I don't know what that means. Those are my comments. Oh, one other comment. At the very beginning, in the letter, it says the city council is troubled by the fact that no one from the grand jury actually spoke to our police chief or a member of his staff on this matter. Certainly, I think that is troubling. But it goes on to say it is no wonder that both the city council and our police chief have concerns and questions with some of the grand jury's findings. I don't think that it necessarily follows that because they didn't speak with the police chief, that it's no wonder that we have concerns or questions. I do believe that it was very unfortunate they didn't speak with our police chief, but I don't think that ipso facto that it follows that that's the reason why that we have concerns and questions with some of their findings. Thank you.
I think those are some good comments. Let me ask the city attorney a question here. A letter was due today. Was it, what?
It was due 2 days ago, and we may find ourselves somewhat.
There are no penalties.
No, there's no penalties, but what they will do is they won't accept anything we say after a cutoff time. The penalty is whatever we say just won't count.
Well, I certainly like the idea of being a little more specific about use of time. You know, I firmly believe we ought to have some cost accounting effort take place in our town and how we spend our time, like how much time being spent on the schools and things like that, as far as public safety goes. But in regards to what Kathy was saying, the other items besides dispatch that we spend our time on, I would think you could probably make a good judgment estimate that, what is it, 40%, 60%, or, you know, some ballpark number there that would represent a fair approximation as to other types of activities. But I continue to be disappointed in the grand jury reports, frankly, in terms of the value added that I've been able to glean from them. I think this report would have been much more valuable had they come out with a decision tree or something like that. Or here's the process you should go through in evaluating your dispatch operations and the kinds of options and kinds of things that what are best practices and you measure yourself against and that type of thing. So, you know, I guess I don't know how much more time we ought to put into our response at this point.
I agree with both of the council members' comments. In general, there are, in this letter, it was my understanding it was due today, and here we are in the evening. There are some typographical errors, but also formatting errors that I think should be taken a look at and corrected. On page 4, the section 8 under response, grand jury needs to be fixed. And then in the recommendation, it's confusing because the response bullet point hasn't been inserted. So that's just grammatical things. But then my impression with the grand jury report itself was that the questions or their findings, I guess, seemed to be grasping at straws in some instances, and not making any real substantive solution proposals, like Councilmember Carlson said. So I think that it was difficult for our staff to respond because our police dispatch is quite different from, say, San Carlos or larger jurisdictions. And I know that I was going to ask the chief, we had one time talked about potentially if Atherton could take the lead agency in doing dispatch for some of our other neighboring towns to help consolidate, because we do have such a specialized dispatch situation here because of our services that we give to our residents with the alarms that other jurisdictions don't, that maybe we could do that in some future date, if that was any thought or any other plans in that regard. No?
Are you
since you're not the chief, maybe you don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm not aware of the conversation that you had, so
all right, no, that's fine then. So that's my comments. I think we should just finish it and not spend too much more time.
Any public comments on the grand jury report?
I just have, excuse me, Wally Sleeve, 227 Catalpa. I just have a fundamental business question that we really have to address on this whole issue. And we need to look at is the cost of central dispatching plus the cost of other services more or less than what the overall cost we're paying now. And if we look at that, we'll get a good idea of how to go forward on this issue. That's all. Thank you.
Any other public comments on the grand jury report? Seeing none, we'll close it. We'll come back to the council. Any other final comments with regards to this report?
I think we're in a bit of a pickle because it's come to us on the day it's supposedly due or 2 days after it's due, but I think that there are some revisions that need to be made. Certainly, you know, I found some typos and some grammatical errors that I'm not even going to go into. It's not worth our time here, but I think it needs to be, some things need to be fleshed out and changed, and I think that there are some things in here that I don't feel I want to say to the grand jury.
Well, I think definitely we need to do, have some facts. I agree with you. But I also think that the chief did a reasonable job in getting this out. I think it was a month ago that we saw the original report. And so the chief and I met on it, and he told me other council members went to meet with him on it, so.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a suggestion? I think that most city attorneys and city managers would probably tell you we hold grand jury findings and comments in somewhat low disregard because of the facts that are put out tonight. They're trying to give you an amorphous